Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started in about 6 minutes. We're hoping we can get Al's video fixed in the meantime. So if you hear us chatting about it, that's why. I don't know, Al. I feel like every time I get something down, Zoom updates things and changes things. So I'm not sure why. I had it all fixed a couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago.
Well, said it's not the end of the world.
I know. All right, everybody, we're going to get started in about 3 minutes as people keep entering. All right, everybody, good morning. My name is Laura. I'm going to be in the background of this workshop, looking through the chats and the QAs to help Al so he can answer all your questions. So for today, we're expecting a larger crowd. So we are going to, I prefer that you don't raise your hand throughout this workshop so that we can kind of limit how long we want to stay on track with our workshop, but you can type your questions in the QA in the chat. Later today, you'll receive an email with me for a link to the video so you can rewatch this video. And we will not be giving you a copy of the slides today. So with that said, this is Starting Your Own Business. This is presented by Al Morrison. Unfortunately, I cannot get his camera to work. It's an error on my end. I can't figure out why it's happening. So he is here with us and he has lots of great information today. So Al, are you ready?
I'm here. I'm here. You can't see me, but I can hear you. So welcome. If this is your first time, welcome to the SCORE webinar series. If you've been here before, glad to have you. What Laura is going to be doing is watching the chat and the questions for multiple questions so that if we get 2 or 3 of you asking the same question, we'll answer it online. Otherwise, I will stick around afterwards to answer the individual questions. And we'd ask you that you please, in either the chat or the questions, only put in questions. Again, save your comments for later if you could. So having said that, if Laura sees a couple of questions that kind of look similar, she's going to come back on and we'll answer the question. But if they're individual questions, we'll save that to the end. So welcome to Starting Your Own Business. What we're going to talk about today is SCORE. I always have to have a commercial for SCORE right at the beginning. Then we're going to talk about why small business is so important to the US economy. If you're going to start a small business, where do you begin? How do you develop a business plan? Talk about the financials and what you do next. So the whole where do you begin will continue on with other parts of starting your own business. The plan today is to give you some ideas, some thoughts, some tools, things to consider, not the end all, be all. And I'll say this multiple times, if you really are serious about starting a business, get yourself an advisor. It could be a SCORE mentor, it could be somebody else. We're here to help you get started in your business. So SCORE is a national organization. Our mission is to help the small business communities. We do it through mentoring and education. We don't do work, we do mentoring, we do education, but if you need a business plan, we'll help you with it. We won't write the business plan for you. And our vision is that every person has the support necessary to thrive. Every person. We've been at this since 1964, and we haven't got every person yet, but we're still working on it. We hope to get there. I said we're a national organization started in 1964 as a resource partner to the SBA. We have today over 10,000 volunteers and spread over 220 chapters across the country. And what we find is that people that start a business and have a SCORE advisor, SCORE mentor, do much better than those that don't. As I said, we do 2 things. We do one-on-one mentoring, counseling, advising, call it what you'd like. It's real world advice from people been there, done that. If you have a question for us, we'll answer it. And maybe the only time we talk with you. But some relationships I've had in all 12 years that I've been a SCORE mentor, we meet once or twice a year. In the early stages with one, we met once a week. So we'll meet as often as you need to help you get your business going. And it's one-on-one, it's free, and it's confidential. So whatever you tell your SCORE mentor stays between you and your SCORE mentor. We do education. Those take the form of workshops. You're right in the middle of starting your own business workshop. If you want to see what else we've got, go to score.org for national workshops. Some of the things you can find is business planning, financial management, analytics, marketing, not-for-profit basics, QuickBooks, social media marketing, all kinds of things are available. And if you would like to get a SCORE advisor, copy this down. Go to score.org and request a mentor. And it's just that simple. We'll find you one that meets your needs. And here we go. So, small business. Small business is really, really important to the economy of America. That's because there are over 28 million small businesses in the US. You know, we talk about the Fortune 500 and the Fortune 1000, the big guys. But there are millions of small businesses out there that really drive the economy. And every year, 650, 500,000 businesses start up every year. So it's a really important engine for employment, for growth, for the economy, goods and services. That's how a lot of things get done. Small businesses represent 99.8% of all businesses in the US, based on the Federal Employment Identification Number, the EIN. They're responsible for 50% of all goods and services, 50% of the workforce, and 75% of all new jobs. 75% of all new jobs are created by small businesses. That's pretty significant. You know, the big guys hire them, the big guys lay them off, but the small business continues to hire, creating 75% of all new jobs, which is really important for the growth of the economy in your local hometown, your local neighborhood, your county, wherever you are. They create the local jobs. So it's an important force in the local economy. Small businesses mean risk. I'm sure you've heard the numbers that after a couple of years, they go out of business. And after 5 years, only half survive. There's a reason for that. That's because the manager doesn't know what they're doing. They're just inexperienced. They could be educated, but they don't get that education they need. They just don't know how to manage tasks or others. The costs are just not in control, and they run out of money. Their cash flow isn't understood, and they run out of money. The interesting thing, in the 12 years I've been with SCORE, we haven't lost a business. And if you think about it, think about the Summer Olympics that are coming up here. When you look at those Olympians, they are the best athletes in the world come this summer. And every single one of them has a coach. Why are they the best in the world? I think because they've got a coach, somebody that can help them, teach them, show them things, how to get it done. That's exactly what your mentor is with SCORE. He's your business coach to make sure you get wherever you want to go. And I did some research. I find this very interesting. Remember the wagon trains you studied in history that went from the east and went out to California, heading for California? Why? Gold? Who knows why they went to California? What we do know is every single wagon train that made it to California had a guide. We don't know what happened to a lot of them because you know that not all made it to California. Maybe they got lost. Maybe something happened to them along the way. But everyone that made it to their destination had a guide. Every Olympian has a coach. There's something I think we could learn from that as business people, that if, wherever you're going, if you get a business advisor, business coach, a business mentor, they'll help you get there. There's risk in businesses, yes, for sure. But the upside is, and for the right person, the advantages far outweigh the risks. And for me, because I own 3, you get to be your own boss. I kind of like that. I don't mind working hard, but the benefits come to you or the owner of the business. So you don't increase somebody else's profits. That's good news. Your potential is limited only by how you want to limit it. I find starting a new business is exciting, and running it provides you with all kinds of exciting challenges, growth, chance to learn, just get better at what you do. And if you've got an advisor by your side, you're going to make all the right decisions. So there's a lot of upside to having a business if it's in your future. So where do you start? So if you said, I'd really like to do this, I'm excited about it, where do you start? So the first place you start is making sure that the business that you want to take on is right for you. It's got to be right for you. It's got one that you're excited about, you're passionate about, you bounce out of bed on Monday morning and say, I can't wait to get to work. It shouldn't be a chore. It should be fun. I think the great philosopher Willie Nelson of country western fame once said, find a job you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. And I think that's true of finding the right business. You'll never work a day in your life. It'll be fun. That business has to meet whatever your goals are. What do you want from the business? You want income? You want it as a part-time side hustle? You want to have money to retire? Uh, how much time are you willing to put into the business? Do you want to sell it to your children? You want to leave? What is it you want to do with it? So you need to understand what those goals are and share that with your business advisor and your SCORE mentor. It should be one that uses your experience. So, I've eaten in restaurants all my life, but I am certainly not qualified in any way, shape, or form to actually run a restaurant. So find one that uses your experience. Also find one that's needed. You don't want to park your new hot hamburger stand right next to 3 McDonald's restaurants. So find one that's needed. Find one where there's limited competition, so you can develop your excitement and your passion for your business and make it play. So number one, make sure the business is right for you. Number two, make sure that you understand who you are. So do a personal assessment, understand where you're strong, where you're not so strong. If you're great with the numbers and you want to keep your own books, I think that's a good idea. If you're not so great with the numbers, don't keep your own books. Find somebody to help you with that. If you're great at marketing, do your own marketing. If you're not, get some help. If you're great with IT and websites, build your own. If you're not, get it done for you. So the whole idea is build on your strengths and get the areas where you need help, get help. And your business will then be much better able to thrive. And for me, I have done my taxes in the past when it was a simple, I just got a W-2 and filled out 1040, done. Now that I have businesses, I have them done professionally. Could I do it? I suppose. But my accountant, I asked him one time, does 408 tax returns a year. I do one. So my accountant is an expert in that. He knows exactly what the latest laws are, all the things that I would have to study. So he can do it in a fraction of the time, and it's a fair trade of good for service from him. I feel it's a really good idea. So find out where you're strong, talk with your advisor, find out where you need help, go get help. That's really the secret to running a small business, is build on your strengths, what you're really good at. So you know what business you want to be in. You know where you're strong. So start to do some research about that business. A lot of ways to do that. A lot of places you can go. The local library, SCORE can help you. The internet can help you. One of my examples is, before I go to the example, Laura, we have a question. You need to turn your mic on.
Thank you, sir. Oh boy. I did want to interrupt you with this because it's an intro question as you are starting. What is the definition of small business? Number of employees, annual revenue, et cetera, et cetera. Is there a medium-sized business category?
So what is the definition of small business? The SBA, which is the Small Business Administration, defines a small business as anything under 10 million. I personally define a small business as anything that I choose to define it as. Could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 employees. But the SBA, for government purposes and government reporting, uses $10 million. Most of the SCORE clients we have, certainly in the area that I represent, are under $1 million, with 3, 4, 5 employees. I don't think the SBA categorizes a medium-sized business, but I would say from 10 million up to whatever the Fortune 1000 are, Fortune 500 would be considered a medium-sized business. So my story about doing research is an individual wanted to build one of these storage facilities, with about 150 little garages, and you drive in and you open your little garage with your padlock and you store your stuff. stuff that won't fit in your garage, stuff that won't fit in your attic, stuff that won't fit in your basement. You store it in one of these little storage areas. And he had financing all figured out. He had construction plans all figured out. And we said, before we do that, before we spend some money, let's do some research. And so his task was to find all of the little storage facilities in his area within about we took a 5-mile radius just for fun, and find a paper map and put a little red dot everywhere where you find a facility. And he used online yellow pages. He drove around. He did internet searches. He did all kinds of research. And when he came back, it looked like the map had chicken pox. There were storage facilities all over. Things you around the corner, down the street, hidden in the back, on the main streets, on byways. They were all over the place. So, is there room for another one? Maybe, maybe not. So he decided to do some further research. And what he did was call a couple of them. And if the answer was, oh, I'm sorry, we're full, we just don't have any space available. But if the answer came back, we got plenty of space, come on in. In fact, if you come in today, we'll cut you a deal. We got plenty of space. So he called 5. All of them said, we got plenty of space, come on in. So he concluded that having another one that had extra space wasn't the best idea. So he took a U-turn and did something different. That's the value of research, is to help you decide to do it or not to do it. On the other hand, I had a client that was going to build a drive-through beverage. You drive in, you roll down your window, they sell you a pack of cigarettes, a sandwich, some smokes, maybe a 6-pack of beer, and you drive back out the other side. And he found it in the local county that they did traffic surveys. And we looked at the traffic surveys and ran the numbers to see how many of the people that drove by would have to stop in and buy something for him to make money. So we ran all the numbers, looked at all the traffic statistics. And the question came back to how many of every 100 cars that drive by, how many out of that 100 that drive by, and literally there were thousands that would drive by, but out of 100 that drive by, how many would have to stop and buy something for him to break even? And when we ran the numbers, we were shocked, because all it took for him to break even was 1 out of every 100 cars to stop in. No brainer. He built a drive-through beverage. I stopped by a couple of weeks after he'd opened up on a Friday afternoon. The people were lined up down the street and around the corner trying to get into his beverage. It was payday. The factories let out. They were backed up around the corner. So it was a really good business venture. He said, hey, are you making any money? And all he did was smile. So research is really important part of your business. So number 1, find one you're passionate about. Number 2, find out strengths and where you need help. Then do your research on, is this really a good business for me to be in? So if it is, then you want to ask yourself, what legal structure do I want to build for my new business? And as you think about that, the only 2 things that matter are legal liability, which means if something goes wrong, the wheels come off the bus, who has to pay? And the tax implications, how do you pay your taxes? So basically there's 2 fundamental forms. There's personal ownership and corporate ownership. Personal ownership could be a sole proprietorship or a general partnership with 2, 3, 4, 5 partners. If it's personal ownership and the wheels come off the bus, the owners, the proprietors, the sole proprietor, the partners are liable for what damages might have occurred. With a corporation, there's a wall between you and the outside world. And that corporation is the wall that protects you. Sole proprietorship, taxes are very simple. Partnership, a little more complicated. Corporations can be more complicated, right? So you have to weigh the complications of doing the taxes with the benefits of the protection of the corporation. I had a piano teacher. Piano teacher teaches piano lessons in your living room, teaching your children to play the piano. She formed a sole proprietorship because it was only her, and she believed there was very little liability. I mean, teaching your children in your living room, not much could go wrong. And you're probably not going to sue her because your kids can't play piano. But then she decided, as her clientele grew and grew, that she could teach more children if they came to her home. And she taught piano in her home, in her living room, on her piano. Well, then you have the problem of people coming up her slippery driveway or on her slippery, icy walk in the wintertime or tripping on her rug coming in. So she then formed a corporation to protect her from that. So you can evolve through this. The difference between the limited liability S Corp and C Corp are covered in another webinar we have. But when you think about it, talk to your SCORE mentor, decide, because the simpler the taxes are, the better. But if you need legal protection, then you want to form a corporation. So it's certainly something to consider and think about in building your business. Then we would encourage you to check with your state, because corporations are formed at the state level. And so your state will probably have a business connection somewhere at the Secretary of State or the Treasurer's office that'll help you find out if your business needs a license, tell you how to register the name, how to get an employer identification number, which is the Social Security number for a business. What are the legal requirements if you have employees? Register with the Department of Taxation if your state has sales tax in it, any other licensing you mean, and on and on. So it's a great resource that you can use. So you're decide the business is right for you, you're excited about it, you've done the personal assessment, you've got a legal structure in mind. Now you get a chance to have some help. You should have people in your phone or whatever you have that you keep track of people. You should have somebody that can help you with taxes and money, an attorney to help you with legal issues, an insurance agent, because you will need insurance, certainly a banker. If you're going to have websites or any technology involved, you need a computer specialist, marketing and other disciplines, and of course, mentors and advisors. So get a team behind you to help you. Try not to do it alone. So when you're starting your business, if you can do it out of your home, I like that idea because you've already got your home, you're already paying for your home. Why would you incur the cost of another building or another facility or anything? So it's the easiest, least expensive way to start your business. If you're going to do that, though, make sure you check with the city or whatever municipality you're in to make sure that you can run that kind of a business out of your home. Be aware that if you do business in your home, for example, if you had a hair salon in your living room, your homeowner's insurance or your renter's insurance will not cover that. You need a special business coverage. The same way with your auto insurance. If you are using it to make money or you're using it in your business, like delivering flowers, for example, using your personal car, your regular old everyday auto insurance will not cover you. You need a rider. So, the difference in the auto insurance is if you're using a car to make money, you need a special rider. If you're using it to go to and from work or whatever, you don't. So ask yourself, do you want employees or customers in your home? Do you want the UPS truck driver driving up your driveway 2 or 3 days a week? Is that okay with you? And if you're in doubt, the IRS has a great publication. You go to irs.gov and it's publication 587. It will tell you all the things you can and shouldn't do in having a home-based business. So now you're ready to think about a business plan. And a business plan is a document, it's a roadmap to achieve your goals. If you were driving from wherever you live to Alaska, you wouldn't just start out, jump in your car and start driving. You pull out a map, pull out your GPS to make sure you have a roadmap to where you're going. That's exactly what a business plan is. It's the roadmap of how you're going to get to where you want to go. Should be written. You should update it. It should talk about the important aspects of your business. Here's why I say beware of the SCORE business plan template because it covers all aspects of every business you could possibly have. Talk to a SCORE mentor about what you really need in your business plan. Business plan is probably a dozen pages or less. So it's not your life's work. It's not impossible. I've had clients put good business plans together in under a week and working part-time on it. So find out what you really need to have so you get the important aspects of your business. And remember, it's a communication tool. If you have investors or you have bankers, it's a tool you're going to need. We also have, again, webinars all the time on Business Planning 101. So you can get that kind of education from SCORE, and it's free. So why do you want to write a business plan? So what? Well, it shows where you may have some needs. It shows opportunities or problems. It could spot problems like profit margins way too thin. I had a lady who's going to start up a restaurant, and she was all set to go. We said, let's put a plan together. Let's talk about the food costs and the cost of your building. And when she put the plan together, it turned out that opening the restaurant 3 days a week wasn't going to work. So it's decision time. Should you open more days a week, or should you maybe not do it at all? She had two sisters that were in it together with her, and they said, well, the plan was 3 days, but let's see what happens at 4. So they reran the business plan at 4, and it was okay, but it really started to do well when they opened 5 days a week. So they said, we can do that. So the sisters decided to open the restaurant 5 days a week, but the business plan prevented her from getting started and losing a bunch of money up front before she figured it out. It should identify all your costs and your pricing. And we'll talk in a minute about pricing. And it, again, helps you evaluate strengths and weaknesses and where you need help. And it's a critical tool to say, is this something I can do, I can afford to do, I want to do? And the process of business planning for my storage shed guy was a no-go. Business planning for the drive-through beverage, it was a go. So it can go either way, but you certainly need to plan it on paper because it's really cheap to plan it on paper. It's really costs you once you buy a building and have a 5-year lease. So work with your SCORE mentor and get a business plan. So as you want to start it, again, define your business purpose. What is your business going to be? What's success look like for you? You know, what is success? A business you can sell, a business you can give to your kids, a business that gives you, spending money. What's it look like in 2, 3, 5 years? Look at your market, your industry, start drafting the plan, and then review your plan with a SCORE mentor. And the question usually comes up, how soon should I talk to should I get a SCORE mentor? And the answer is, the sooner you get started, the better. So if you've just got a twinkle in your eye, that's a good place to start with your advisor. If you've got a good solid idea and a good solid thought process and you're partway into your business plan, bring it on. Your business mentor, SCORE mentor, doesn't expect the plan to be 100% or 80% or 60% or 50%. But if you started it, you've got a couple of pages, go talk with it. Make sure you're putting the right things in the business plan so you don't waste any time and energy and effort putting things in you really don't need. Let's talk about the money. Can't have any start your own business discussion without the money. And money usually means we're going to have to finance it. So let's talk about the ways you might finance. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because I've left the good, the bad, and the ugly on for a reason. So if you've got personal money and you want to invest that personal money, that's a good idea. I don't recommend you investing more than a third of your personal savings in your business. If you've got an IRA, absolutely do not take money out of your IRA. That's a bad idea just because of the penalties that you occur in taking money out of a retirement account. So yeah, it's cash, but boy, it is very costly to take it out. For example, if you take out $1,000, the government takes $100 of it right off the top before you even get it. So you get, if you withdraw 1,000, you get 900, and so forth and so on. So it's a bad place. Home equity line of credit, home equity loan, not such a good idea. And why is that not a good idea? Because if your business, heaven forbid, has problems, goes out of business, you could lose your home. So now you have no job, no business, and no home. Bad idea. Cosigner, great idea. If you get collateral from a family member or help them promise to pay back the loan along with you, that's a really good idea. You've all heard of the story of Uncle George gave him $500 and now he's a millionaire. If you can get money from family, that's a good idea. Or, as I call the 3 F's, if you get money from family, friends, or fools, that's a great idea. Credit card financing, bad idea. The most expensive credit in the world is a credit card. That's the most expensive money you can ever borrow. Bad idea. Bank financing, if you can get a loan, great idea. So there's good, there's bad, there's ugly. And a tip, once you have a business, make sure you open a business account. Please don't use your personal accounts for your business. Keep it separate. It makes tax time a lot easier. It makes it a lot cleaner. It makes it easier to see how your business is doing. If you mix the two up, you may not know how it's doing. So please keep the two separate. If you're going for bank financing, you walk in the door and said, I'd like to borrow some money. The first thing they'll ask you is, you have a business plan. So that's one of the reasons you need a business plan. The banks are going to ask about your personal financial status. So they're going to want to see a couple of years of tax returns. They're going to want to see your credit score. And they're going to want to see your debt to equity ratio. In other words, if you cashed in all of your chips, how much money would be left? And that's the debt to equity. So after you paid off all your debts, how much money would be left? Do you have a down payment? Or are you going to put some of your own money in the game? I have been doing this for a long time, and I have not found a bank yet that doesn't want you to have skin in the game. It varies from bank to bank, but the number that seems to keep coming around is about 20%. So if I want to borrow $1,000, I've got to have 200 of my own money to put into that $1,000 request, that $1,000 need. When you start drawing money out to finance your business, the first money comes from you. That first 20% comes out. So you don't get the bank's money until you put your money in. And so you just make sure you've thought about a business plan, your personal status, and how much money you can put in if you're going to go to the bank for money. Make sure you understand all of your costs. What are they? Cost of goods that go into the business, rent, utilities, salaries, startup costs. If you're going to do some build out or some marketing or a website, you need startup money. So understand what those costs are. Because the number one reason a business goes out of business is they run out of money. And one of the reasons they run out of money is they didn't understand what all the costs were going to be. So come to our business planning workshop and we'll talk about that. You need to think about cash flow. Cash is king, because once you run out of cash, you're out of business. Cash is the blood that flows through any business. And failure to control that cash and manage that cash is potential big troubles. So how do you do that? Well, when you think about cash, cash actually is in 3 different buckets. So cash is how much money do you have in the bank, plus accounts receivable, which is how much money people owe you, minus the amount of money that you owe other people. And that could be because you have a house account with a store, or you have a credit card bill to pay. So just that's what you need to track. And if you and I were working together and you were starting up your business, you and I would sit down and look at your cash every single month. what we would do would be say, let's look at your cash. If your cash is going up, that's good. If your cash is going down, that's bad. That's a problem. And if your cash is about the same as it was last month and has been for the last 3 or 4 months, then you're probably okay. We don't have to look any deeper. But if we want to look deeper, here's what we do. We said, okay, let's look at what's going on with your bank account. If your bank account's going up, that's good. If it's going down, that's bad. And if it's about the same as last month, then it's okay. But let's say we looked at your cash and cash is going down, and we look at what's money in the bank and it's the same as it was. That's okay. Let's look at money that other people owe us. So the amount of money that other people owe us is going up. That may be because the business is growing. And that could be a good thing, but it could be a big red flag. And an individual, he's in the lumber business. And he was selling lumber, 2x4s and plywood and stuff to contractors to build homes. He was $30,000 in receivables when 2008 came and the housing crunch came and all these contractors went out of business. He was stuck with $30,000 in receivables. You know how many 2x4s you have to sell to net $30,000 in profit to pay that debt down? Big time. So we want to watch receivables. If they're going down, that's good. If they're about the same, that's okay. But in terms of them going up, that's when we want to watch that. That's when we start asking questions. And the payables, again, is the money we owe other people. If it's going up, maybe because your business is growing. And that could be a good thing. If it's level, that's okay. Ideally, what we'd like to see is your cash going up, your money in the bank going up, your receivables going down, your payables going down. That's beautiful. If your business is growing, then maybe it's a little different, but you always want to be watching that. Because when you run out of cash, you run out of money. So now we're getting really serious. We got a business plan. We have to think about how we're going to market our business. And anytime you're thinking about marketing, you always want to think about the customer. The right way to plan a business is start with the customer and work your way back in, as opposed to start with a product and hope you can find somebody to buy it. And when you do that, in the terms of the marketing people, you develop a persona of the customer. So this is the specific customer to which you're going to sell. It's specific. It's everything you can talk about that customer. Then that persona becomes the basis for all of your marketing messaging, all of your marketing that you do. The more specific you can be, the more targeted you can be in your marketing message and how you spend your money. So that's where you start. Always start. You could have more than one. You may have more than one, but each one is likely a little different. So how might this work? Let's talk about Al's Bike Shop. Al is going to sell bikes to left-handed female bicycle riders who are professional women, college educated between the ages of 25, 45, and own their own home. That's really specific. But when the left-handed female bike rider professional hears Al's marketing message, she says, if I was going to buy a bike, Al's the place I'd go to buy that bike. So Al's marketing message for this woman, for example, says, if you want to ride safely, you want to ride comfortably, you want to ride for a long time, you want to ride fast, come see Al. And so there's the marketing message. Now, because Al knows that this person is probably riding for sport or for exercise, and they're not going to be dilly-dallying. They're going to ride. So they want to ride long, fast, comfortably, and safely. If another persona would be age range 65 and up, they're riding for a very different reason. They're probably riding to ride with their grandchildren. And so they want to be able to ride safely, comfortably, and long, but not fast. But they just want to be able to keep up with their grandkids. So there would be two separate personas and two separate marketing messages. Not a lot different, same bike, but enough different that you want to think carefully about who your customer is. In your marketing, you want to talk about in your marketing plan also, you want to talk about the 4 Ps: product, pricing, promotion, and place. Product is the actual good or service that you're doing. Pricing is what price are you going to set it for? How are you going to promote it so that people find you? And where is it? How are you going to get that product to the market? So we can think about the competition, what products they have, how do they sell, how do they compete, what's your advantage? And really, the question is, what is your niche? Where do you fit in to this landscape of product or service? And how does that work? So where do you fit in, and what's your message that you can be very specific about? So as you again think about the business you want to be in, what your strengths are, and what market niche do you want to play in? When you promote that product, you want to build that brand, because brand, I believe, is another word for promise. So what do you promise with your brand? McDonald's, for example, promises that no matter where in the world you buy French fries, they will taste exactly the same as they do in your hometown. That brand involves that total customer experience from beginning to end. It appeals to the person's needs. And how do you figure that out? You ask them what they need. You got a persona, ask them what they need. And today, good or quality is enough. It has to be really great. And keep it simple. Any of your promotions, be simple. Customers are not complicated people at all. They need to be told in simple language exactly what you do and what your brand does for you. And then that identity is the collateral material that you have that makes that brand promise recognizable. Business cards, signage, company products, website, everything should be very, very consistent in the identity and in the messaging. Wherever you promote your business, it needs to be consistent across all media. Let's talk about pricing. This is really one of the questions that always gets asked and should be asked. It's a really good question. So how do I decide to price my product? And the answer is it depends. And we'll talk about how it depends. But every market that you go into looks like a pyramid. Every market. Some are very short and squatty, some are tall and skinny, but every market looks like a pyramid. That's because the number of potential customers, which is the bottom of the pyramid, is the most potential customers when the price is at the lowest. As you go up in price, you get fewer and fewer and fewer potential customers. So let's take the automobile market. The least priced automobile you can buy is a used car. And more used cars are sold in the US every year than all new car brands combined. And used cars get sold and resold and resold. So you get multiple sales out of a used car. You click up to the price of new car. That can be somewhere in the middle here, and you come up to the very luxury, high-end, very expensive electric Tesla sports models that are $250,000. There are very few potential customers up there. But you decide what's your business model and how you want to place yourself and where you want to place, because you can make money everywhere. Even the deep discounters make money. The Walmarts and the Kmarts and the Targets of the world, they still make money. It's just a different business model. So let's talk about how this might work. There's Ann and Bob. They're twins. Ann was born a couple of minutes before Bob, but they both want to get into the grass cutting business. So Ann starts her business as Ann's Concierge Lawn Care Service. Ann manicures your lawn. She edges it, trims it, sweeps it, blows it off the driveway, weeds it, does a great job, and only takes customers for the entire grass cutting season from April through October. And provides customized service. So if during that year that she's cutting your grass, you're going to have a garden party, you give her a little notice, she'll come out and fertilize your lawn a couple of weeks before so it's green. She'll come and trim it the day before so it looks great for your garden party. And if you've got a reasonably small lawn, and you've been a dry season, she'll actually come out and bring a water truck and water your lawn for you. So it looks great for your garden party, or maybe just the patch where you're going to have your garden party. So that's concierge lawn care. Her brother, Bob, his business is Bob's Cuts. Bob's cheap. All Bob does is cut your grass. His guys come out, lawnmowers come off the truck, cuts the grass, lawnmowers come back on the truck, Bob leaves. You want trimmed? Not my problem. You got weeds? Not my problem. Both of them, surprisingly, make about the same amount of money. Ann has a very few customers. Bob has a lot of customers. Ann has a very small staff of grass cutters. Bob has lots and lots of cutters. Totally different model, but they both do well. So the question for you is, where in this pyramid do you want to be? And some of the strategies you might use, and again, SCORE has pricing webinars. You could do a market price. What's everybody else charging? Or you could say, oh, it's added a lot of value, so we're going to charge you a premium. You can bundle it. And I'm sure you've heard the commercial, bundle your auto, car, home, bicycle, life insurance with one, and you get a deal. And there may be special promotions. So there are lots of ways to talk about pricing. But again, for any one brand, in any one persona, you can only be in one place on that pricing pyramid. So talk to an advisor about where you want to be and how you want to do that. As you run a company, you're the general manager. You are the top dog. So as you think about that, if you're not going to have any employees, like my piano teacher, she didn't have any employees, that's fine. You can skip this section. But if you're thinking in the future, you might want to have employees, you have to be a leader. You have to motivate people. They have to have the same passion and dreams that you have. The employees are really important to the success of your business, because the front line of your business is employees. Then you have to give them the responsibility and authority to be the frontline employee and get it done. And they have to like to work for you. So you've got to be able to have a great job environment for their work. When people leave an organization and do exactly the same thing with another organization, it wasn't about the work they were doing. It was all about the environment they were in. So people change jobs to do exactly the same work if it's the wrong environment for them. If you're going to have staff, you've got to hire great people, because they're the front line. They are the front line, the first line of defense for everything that happens in your business. They're the people that provide the public image. They're the people that might refer you to other great employees. Again, so you've got to have a great environment, go for the best. You could consider hiring some people that are disadvantaged, that may have great skills, but that don't affect their disability at all. Consider part-time, job sharing, other ways of getting the right employee to give them the job that they want. And we're finding today that fewer and fewer people want full-time jobs. They want 3 or 4 part-time jobs, because during COVID, they had that one full-time job, they got laid off, they're in trouble. Now, I've had people actually tell me they have 4 part-time jobs, and they love it. A lot of diversity, a lot of fun. And if they lose one of 4, they're not in big trouble. Whereas if you lose 1 out of 1, you're in big trouble. So what do you do next? So we've done a lot of talking. What do you do next? So choose a business that's right for you, one that you can get excited about. So think about that really hard. What's that business that's going to get you excited? Think about where you're strong, where you need support. Think about a business structure that makes sense for you. Should it be a sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation? Wouldn't hurt to think about your business plan and actually take a business planning workshop and get a SCORE advisor, SCORE mentor to help you. So with that, I'm going to open the floor to questions, and I will take it from the top.
Okay, so we have a couple questions that have been waiting. What is small business versus startup?
A small business would be one that is in business, that is currently operating. It has revenue and expenses, and has been in business longer than a day. A startup is a business that has not yet started. So it's at square zero minus one, maybe. It has no revenue, it has no customers, it has no costs. It's in startup mode, so it's thinking about starting up.
Okay, let's see. If you're a solo entrepreneur providing digital services with a laptop only, do you still need an insurance rider? If so, should it be for the business only laptop?
It depends on what that business is doing. If it's just you and your laptop and you're not actually conducting business in your home, you probably don't need insurance. I'm not an insurance agent, so I would check with the insurance agent and be very specific about what you're doing. Because if what happens at the other end of your laptop goes amok and the customer decides to sue you, your homeowner's insurance will not cover that. So the difference is when you start making money, the insurance companies think about you differently. So if my brother-in-law walks up my walk and slips and falls and sues me, my homeowner's insurance will cover it. If a customer comes up my walk and are paying me for some reason, or if at the other end of my laptop, they're paying me for something I'm doing and the laptop is in your home, again, I would check with my insurance agent, but once you start making money, where you are and what you do starts to make a big difference to the insurance people. So I would first check with an expert on that.
Okay, there is a question I want to get to. It's out of order, but can you show us the to-do list again?
Yep, I can do that. Business is right for you. Strengths and weaknesses. What's your business structure? Start on a business plan. Get an advisor.
Okay, this question is, I didn't quite hear and or understand, where would a LLC fall in place?
An LLC is a corporation that is the easiest form. It has members that actually are owners. It's a corporation, and it protects you from liability if the wheels come off the bus. That is true only and only if your business bank account is separate from your personal bank account. When you combine the two, if you start using your personal money, your personal credit card, your personal bank, you've blurred the line between the outside world and you. So an LLC is a corporation that has owners, members. A C corporation and a S corporation have shareholders. So that's a difference. An LLC can only have owners that live in the US. They can't be owners anywhere else but in the US.
Okay, next question from Brian. What webinars or resources might a person study in order to determine their market position and place that understanding into the business plan?
Go to score.org, and there's a bunch of national webinars that'll have a variety of topics that will steer you in the right direction.
Okay, the next question, what about relationships with unions and nonprofit organizations for a small business?
Relationships that are supportive of your business and you can support them are always a good idea. Many hands make light work. If you're thinking of having employees and they're going to unionize, I would strongly recommend, if you don't have experience in that, that you get yourself a lawyer that understands the issues there. If you're going to work with not-for-profits, again, not-for-profit should operate exactly like a for-profit business in terms of its operation. The issue is, what do you do with the money when it's left over? What do you do with that money?
What sources do you know of for self-assessments focused on business strengths?
I would just Google that, because there's lots and lots of assessment tools out there. The simplest would be, ask yourself, what am I strong in? Am I strong in finances? Am I strong in operations? I'm strong with people. Where am I strong? Where are my real strengths? But there's a lot of assessments you can take. I would just Google it. There's just so many out there. If they're free, it'll give you a great start.
Okay. What are some ways to work on ideation? How can we find that business idea we are passionate about?
I would recommend that you go online and look for businesses that are for sale through a business broker. That'll give you great ideas on the kind of businesses that might be out there. You might even want to buy one, or you might say, I could do that without buying one. So that's one good start. Another one is to, if you can find a franchise fair somewhere around where you live, where all the franchisees will come in and show you what kind of things you can franchise. So that's another great idea, place for ideation of ideas. If you do decide to go the franchise route, be aware that there are some really great franchises out there, and there's some really horrible franchises. So just be aware of that as you look at franchising.
Okay, this question is Savannah. I'm an Asian woman. What should I register for, EDWOSB or minority owned business?
I do both. I don't think it's an either or situation. I think I would do both.
Some questions here on sole proprietorship and licensing. Do I still need to register with a state if the business is sole proprietorship? Is having an EIN enough? If you have a sole proprietorship, do you still need an LLC? Can I run different businesses under one LLC?
Let's start with a sole proprietorship and an LLC are totally different business entities. So they're both legal entities, but very, very different. You could have both. You could have two separate businesses, one you run as a sole proprietorship, which I do, and one which is an LLC. So you could have separate businesses, and I have one sole proprietorship and two LLCs. So you can do both. You also can have multiple businesses underneath a sole proprietorship or underneath a LLC. The term for that is a DBA, or a doing business as. So I said earlier, there's Al's Bike Shop. So Al's Bike Shop, if I did it, would be an LLC. But I might also have another business called Al's Bike Parts, and I could put that underneath the Al's Bike LLC, Bike Shop LLC. So then it would be Al's Bike Shop doing business as Al's Bike Parts. And you could have multiples of those underneath it. For tax reasons, it makes absolutely no difference. They all roll back up to the parent company and you. So there's no tax difference. You can't save any tax money, because, as you know, the IRS gets you one way or the other. Whether you're coming or you're going, they're going to get you. Laura, you're muted again.
Darn it, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Along along those lines, can you take portions of profit from one company to fund another company? And is that money taxed once again once you withdraw it from the bank?
Yes, you can. No, it's not. Once you have your profits in one business and you pay those taxes, that money is now yours to do with as you please. You can put it into another business. You can buy a boat. It is not taxed twice. The tax laws in terms of double taxation are pretty decent. The exception to that rule, though, is with a C corporation. With a C corporation, the corporation pays taxes. They distribute the money to the owners, shareholders, and then the shareholders pay taxes on that. So that's the only entity where there is double taxation. Otherwise, you only pay it once.
More questions about LLC. Al, they're on the website at the state of Ohio, they list all the information on all this information you're going over, correct?
Yes,
Some of it.
but we have some people from out of state, and I'm unfamiliar with what some of the other states have. But in terms of requirements, the reason for that is corporations of any form are controlled at the state level. There is no federal corporation. It's all done at the state level. So you register the name in the state, and you're chartered in the state in which the LLC is registered. When you go about that process, I'm very sure that each state, when you try to register the name, it will immediately do a check to see if that name has already been registered in the state that you're registering in. And it will tell you that, sorry, the name's taken. So if you, as part of the name registration process, it will check to see if it's already taken. The answer on a sole proprietorship is I'm not a lawyer, but legally you don't have to. However, the name of your company then is not registered with the state. And if somebody decides to borrow that name, you have no legal recourse because it isn't registered, it isn't protected. There's no tax advantage one way or the other. Other than if you register with the state, then you can file your taxes under that legal name. If you don't register it, then you still have to pay taxes and pay those taxes under your personal name. And that's fine. Either one works. The only difference is your sole proprietor name is not protected from somebody wanting to borrow it in the state.
So for business plans, if somebody has a consulting and expertise business format, is that a different type of business plan than others?
Read that again to me, please.
Well, so how does offering consulting expertise change the business formation process? If I'm selling my consulting services as opposed to selling goods, how does that change the process for creating a business plan or approaching how I need to fund my venture?
Doesn't change it at all. The business plan, the plan itself is independent from what that product and service is. You would still need to understand who your ideal customer is. You still need to understand how you're going to go to market. You'd still need to have a financial plan on what sales are going to look like and what your costs are. So you're still, the business plan is going to be at the 95% level, almost the same.
When are you actually considered an operating business?
When you get your first dollar of revenue is when you're considered to be in business. So if you wanted to get a sole proprietorship or an LLC, and you don't do anything with it, that's fine. You don't have to. I mean, there's no time limit on how soon you have to actually be in business and collect your first dollar. And I've had clients that have had LLCs and they've had them for years and have done nothing with them. But as soon as you get that first dollar of revenue, now you need to pay taxes on that and file with the IRS when you do your personal taxes.
How do you procure funding from VCs when you need funding for full stack developers to build your minimal viable product?
If you're going to VCs, venture capitalists, they're going to want to see a business plan. And if you think about a continuum of where your minimum viable product is a twinkle in your eye, that is the most risk for any investor. If you've got a working prototype, that's less risk for the investor. If you have some minimal sales on that minimum viable product, that's even less risk because you've now demonstrated you have a product that works that customers will buy. If it's just a twinkle in your eye, then that's a tough sell for venture capitalists or any investor.
When should you seek legal counsel during the new business establishment phase, before or after your first sale or service?
I would establish a relationship with a lawyer long before I open up my business. What I mean is you shouldn't wait until you need a lawyer to have one. So I would recommend talking to a couple of lawyers at no charge and interview them and see which one you like the best, and said, can I have you as my lawyer as I need it in the future? And a good lawyer will say, absolutely. Here's my contact information. When you need me, call me. And usually that's done free of charge. If they want to charge you for that service, find somebody else. A reputable lawyer won't charge you for that initial introduction.
Would the nature of your business, B2B versus B2C, change anything that was discussed? If so, how?
The only thing that changes is who your customer is. So the persona of a customer-based business would be a persona of a real live person. But you would, in a B2B business, have a persona of that ideal business, size, shape, location, whatever it might be. So the answer is no. There's no real difference. And the business plan would be basically the same.
So should my LLC name be the same as my business name, or should I have a DBA? In forming an LLC, am I required to use the letters LLC after the business name or on my store sign?
First question is, the name of your store doesn't have to have anything to do with the LLC. They could be totally separate names. You could do a DBA for the name of your store, but you wouldn't have to. And the second part of that question was, I forgot.
Are you requested to use the letters after my business name or on my store sign?
Yes. You must advertise it as an LLC so that the people, your customers, whoever they may be, know that it is a limited liability corporation. So the answer is yes. You want to do it on all your collateral material: business cards, letterhead, signs, invoices, proposals, everywhere.
So if you have a DBA, do you have to use the LLC letters?
what you should do is say it's the name of my business is Al's Spare Parts, and in small letters, I would say it's Al's Bike Shop LLC in very small letters, doing business as Al's Spare Parts.
Hmm.
So you should identify it both ways. And if you have some doubts on that, I would talk with a business lawyer, because I'm not exactly sure what you have to do legally.
So if you had a transportation company, like school bus transportation, medical van transportation, and a ride sharing transportation company, could you have an LLC for each of them, or could you umbrella them under one?
You could do it either way. There is no difference in taxation if you have 3 LLCs or just one, and there's no difference in legal liability whether you have 3 or 1. So the two things that matter are taxes and liability, and it doesn't matter. You may want to do that just because you want to do that, which is fine. But they ultimately all roll up to you if they're your business for tax purposes, and they all roll up to the LLC for legal liability purposes, and that protects you. So either one works.
All right, this is pretty specific. If I'm going into private transportation after doing a business plan and connecting with a mentor, getting all the guidance I need, is there possibly any startup funding that could help with the purchase of a shuttle bus needed to provide the services that I would provide?
I honestly don't know. If you're looking for grant money, that is such a ever-changing landscape that grants become available and disappear. They're very, very competitive. So I would say find yourself a local SCORE mentor and start doing a search on grants. Grant writing is an art. Laura will tell you that she writes all of our local grants, and it's an art. And it's an ever-changing landscape. Some years people fund things, some years they don't. It's a lot of work. So I wish you the best of luck and find a local person to help you with that.
Oh, nonprofit business startup. Any tips? How do you find out the differences, benefits, hindrances, privacy, liability, tax costs, or benefit in one state versus another?
Well, I lied, because a not-for-profit is the only legal structure that is done at the federal level. It's done by the IRS. It's done by the IRS because a not-for-profit is a tax-free entity. So the IRS is the place where you register a not-for-profit. The fundamental difference between a for-profit and not-for-profit is not in the way it operates. The difference is, what do you do with the money that's left over after you pay the bills? In the case of a for-profit, you can do anything you want with it. In the case of a not-for-profit, it must be retained in the not-for-profit for the benefit of whatever that not-for-profit is put in place for. If you change your mind on a for-profit company and want to sell it, you can sell it, put the money in your pocket. If you decide to dissolve a not-for-profit company, any money that's left over after the dissolution has to be given to another not-for-profit. It can't go to any individual. In a for-profit company, the board of directors can be paid. In a not-for-profit, the board of directors is volunteers. So volunteers, directors, trustees, officers of a not-for-profit can't be paid. In a for-profit business, the owners make all the decisions. In a not-for-profit, the board of directors, board of trustees makes all the decisions. So if you're the founding founder of a for-profit company, you make all the decisions. If you're the founding founder of a not-for-profit, you may find out that the board of directors votes you out, which they can do. So there's a lot of things to consider. Again, check for a not-for-profit webinar, and we go into great detail on that. And I know that I'm from Akron, Ohio. We actually run a not-for-profit webinar, 3 times a year, Laura, 4 times, something like that.
Yeah, there is one in June, I believe, June 5th. I don't think it's active on the website yet, but June 5th will be the next nonprofit for Akron.
So go to akron.score.org and take a webinar, and that you can register for that.
Also, there were some questions. So the next business plan webinar is May 29th. That is on the website already.
On the Akron website.
On the Akron website.
Yep, akron.score.org.
Yeah. We have some other ones coming up. So I have some more questions, Al. Do you have time?
Yep, let's keep on going.
What paperwork is needed for freelancing?
If you're a freelance something or ever, you don't really have to do anything. You can freelance if you keep track of the money and make sure you pay the IRS. It's likely that the business that you're freelancing for will make you a contractor, and at the end of the year give you a 1099. That's your pay stub as a contractor. If it were me, I would request that the company I'm working for provide me with a 1099. I actually do freelance consulting, and that's exactly what they do for me, is they give me a 1099. Then it's all above board. I've been doing all this for a long time, and I've never been in trouble with the IRS, and I don't want to be.
So Nick asked, I think I'm going to answer this one. Outside of loans from friends and family, are there any financing options that do not require a personal guarantee? And I can tell you that tomorrow we have, Huntington is doing a webinar for Akron Score that you guys could join, probably find out more information about that. It's on the website. But Al, any thoughts?
There is no situation that I have ever seen where you borrow money and the bank will not require a personal guarantee. The exception to that is if you had a bag of money somewhere and you said to the bank, if something goes wrong, you can have my bag of money, then you wouldn't have to give them a personal guarantee. But you'd have to lock up that bag of money so it was always available. So basically, there are no loans that don't require, that I've seen, some kind of a personal guarantee. And with that personal guarantee goes your personal assets. So your house, your car, your kids, your cat, and your cookies all are part of that personal guarantee. That's why business insurance is really important. That's why if there's risk in your business, having a corporation wall between you and the outside world is a really good idea if there's any risk.
Can an LLC I established 20 years ago and used at the time be used to operate my new business?
If the LLC that you formed 20 years ago still is active and you've renewed it, because most states require the LLC be renewed at some interval. In Ohio, it's 5 years. It may be some other thing in wherever you reside. If you've renewed it, then you're good to go. If you haven't renewed it, then it is probably lapsed, and therefore it's been dissolved automatically, and you no longer really have it. I would check with the state's website, the state, probably Secretary of State, to see if that name is available. And if it is, that means your 20-year-old LLC has probably been dissolved.
Can you go over a little bit more the DBAs? How does it work if they have multiple businesses under one LLC, and what's the benefit of a DBA?
From a tax standpoint, there is no benefit. From a legal liability standpoint, there is no benefit. It's a personal choice. If you want to have a different business name for each of your businesses, you can do that. Nothing to stop you from doing that.
Oh, and so Jacqueline, DBA stands for doing business as.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So it would be Al's Bike Shop doing business as Al's Bike Shop Spare Parts. So it would be kind of a subsidiary of the parent company, which is Al's Bike Shop. I could also have a second DBA, which would be Al's Mobile Bike Repair. So that would be Al's Bike Shop LLC doing business as Al's Mobile Bike Shop Bike Repair Shop. I mean, so there's no tax benefit, there's no legal liability difference. It's a personal preference on how you want to name your business and how you want to do it. I would talk with my lawyer or my accountant just to see if there's a reason why you personally want to do it that way. But my experience has been it doesn't really matter.
Business insurance, is this in addition to an umbrella policy?
Yes. The way an umbrella policy works, it is over the top of other insurance. It's the umbrella. So if you have homeowners insurance and you have a car insurance or renter's insurance and car insurance, you can have an umbrella policy over the top of those two. Which means if you get in a car accident, the first line of defense is your car insurance. If the amount you have to pay goes above the policy value of your car insurance, then the umbrella insurance kicks in. What I will tell you, though, is the insurance company will not let you buy the cheapest automotive insurance and then have an umbrella policy above it. They will make you buy a good, healthy insurance policy for your car. The same with your home. And if you've got your business, it will be the same thing for the business. You need a pretty healthy insurance policy in order to have it for your business, in order to have it underneath the umbrella. So the umbrella is the second line of defense before they come after you personally. So the first line of defense, which would be your car insurance, is the most expensive. The second line of defense, which is the umbrella policy, is less money because it doesn't pay out until the lower first line of defense policy taps out.
Did you say Google businesses for sale to get business ideas?
Yes, I did.
You did, okay.
Yep. Also Google business brokers.
Business brokers.
Business brokers, businesses for sale.
Here's
would give
one.
you an idea of what's out there. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. If I didn't start a business, but I have an LLC for it, can I change the name to a new business that I want to start?
You can't change the name of an LLC once it's registered. What you can do is dissolve the first LLC, which then frees the name up, and you can go back and re-register that name for something else. But as long as that name is bolted on to an existing legal entity, you can't use it for anything else. I mean, you can't double use it, for example, which is a protection for you because you wouldn't want me to come in and use your name for my LLC. So you only get one time at it, but you can dissolve it and reapply for another LLC if you wish.
Should you separate the policy provider companies, business from personal insurance?
That's a personal choice. There's no legal benefit or tax benefit. There may be a bundling benefit if you have both of them with the same insurance company. They may cut you a deal because I have all kinds of insurance, cars and home and boat, and had boat, don't sold the boat, but I've got a special rate because I've got both of them with the same insurance company. The same is true in my house. There's only two drivers, myself and my wife. So the first two cars are the most expensive, but car number 3 and car number 4 are cheap because we're not driving them. We can't drive more than 2 cars at one time. So it's again based on risk. And they view that third car that sits in my garage is very low risk. So the answer is there may be some advantage of going with the same insurance company. But if your choice is you don't want one hand to know what the other hand's doing, then separate it, especially if there's no financial benefit to doing it.
All right, I think we're almost caught up. A couple more questions, Al. Do you need a type of any type of license for a home baked desserts?
Home baked what?
Like desserts, cookies, cupcakes. Especially, I think
Yeah.
she's asking as well, like if they're going to be at collectives or marketplaces for sale, not just, delivering them from your home.
I would check with the state on that because the states and local health departments regulate a cottage bakery. So if there are things you can make in your home and there are things you cannot, even if you take them to a collective. So if you said, I'm going to have a food truck, for example, but I'm going to make everything in my house and take it out to the food truck, the state and the health departments regulate that very, very heavily. So I would check with my local health department first to see what I am allowed to make in my home kitchen. As soon as you do that, then, for example, you can't have dogs in the house in the state of Ohio. If you're doing any kind of baking for sale, you can't have dogs or cats or animals in your home. I presume that varies from state to state, and the way you do that is check with your local health department to see what you can and can't make in your kitchen.
And then do you have any tips on how to get those items out there to the marketplaces and collectives?
Other than go talk to the collective? No. We have one that's a collective that's Marigold. It's 10 miles from my house, maybe. Mm-hmm. And the owner controls every business that goes into that collective. They own the building. That's interesting because this seems to be more and more prevalent. Mm-hmm. That the people are buying up these old buildings and putting smaller businesses in them. So there's a couple around our area. It's a very interesting business model. Mm-hmm. It's actually one I'm thinking of. They bought an old jelly factory from Smucker's Jellies, and it's a huge building. They got it for very cheap. Building's got to be 100 years old, and they're rehabbing pieces, corners of it and putting small businesses in there, and they're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a great way for local artists and artisans and people to get started because the rent's cheap. And because they're only open at the end of the week, you can do a side hustle on Saturday and Sunday and sell your art and your wares and whatever. And it's a great way to get started as a small business. But that those would be always controlled by the owner of that collective building.
All right, so this one goes back to when you said not to use a credit card. So hypothetically, if I had cash of 100,000 for payroll and a loan of 100,000 on 10 vehicles, but I had a credit card that I could use to purchase small accessories such as first aid kits or CPR kits, which is needed for the bus transportation company, you wouldn't recommend charging these things on a credit card?
That's not quite what I said. The first thing is I would make sure that credit card is in the name of the business. Do not use your personal credit card. But what I meant to say, and I'm not sure I said it clearly, is you don't want to use that credit card to finance your business. So I had a client that bought a truck and bought a trailer to haul cars around. And what he did was put the repair bills for his truck and trailer on his credit card, his personal credit card. And when we talked, he had close to $60,000 in credit card debt because he was using it to finance the business, the repairs of his truck and trailer. Bad idea, because he had like 4 credit cards that he got this $60,000 bill or loan. The cheapest credit card was 25%. If you think about that, on $60,000, that turns out to be $15,000 a year in interest alone. That's horrible. That's a really bad idea. I mean, when you find yourself digging yourself in a hole in the ground, the first rule is stop digging. Well, the problem with credit card debt is it keeps digging for you, whether you want to or not. So if you want to buy things on the business credit card and pay it off every month, that's fine. It's when you start running up a credit card balance and not paying it off that you start to run into trouble. The first thing that happens is when you hit somewhere around 30% of your credit limit, the credit card company dings your credit rating, your credit score. When you get to somewhere around 70 or 80% of your credit limit, the credit card company will not ding it, it'll bang it, your credit score. So it's not the place that I personally would recommend you use for debt, even short term. I mean, if you're going to use a credit card, that's great. It's very convenient. Pay it off every month. When you can't pay it off every month, then you're starting to accumulate credit card debt. Credit card debt is evil for a small business owner.
Okay, so we're wrapping up now, everybody, but there were several questions, Al, about requesting a SCORE mentor. So everybody, you can go to the website, you can choose your local area, such as, like, for us, we're in Akron, Ohio. So if you're from Akron, you can go and select Akron and you see a list of all the mentors, and most of them have a description of, what their history is with their work. And then you can select somebody, or you can be randomly assigned as well. So you can fill out the form, and then our employee will randomly assign you. So there was a question out. Do you suggest finding a mentor that is specific to the industry that you're getting into? Or do you feel like any mentor can help with a small business. What do you think?
Any mentor can help you with the business side of your small business. So, example, I had a client who's in the motorcycle repair business. I can help him with the finances, with the marketing, but I'm not going to teach him anything about repairing motorcycles. So if you want to get into the motorcycle repair business and you don't know anything about repairing motorcycles, SCORE can't help you. I have had doctors, I have helped them set up private practice. I'm not going to teach that doctor anything about doctoring. So if you have a solid skill and don't know enough about how to run your business, structure your business, operate your business from a finance standpoint, marketing, motorcycle repair guy, didn't know anything about inventory either, we can help you with the business side of it. We can't help you with that core skill of doctoring or motorcycle repairing or running a restaurant. That's not what we do.
Now, there are some people that specialize in, say, restaurant, that have that experience that are mentors. And so that's where if you feel, like that you have specific needs, you can look through the people and request. So you can request a mentor outside of your area as well. If you find somebody that really matches that you feel is going to be a good fit, you can certainly request them if they're out of state. The only caution with that is they might not know state regulations for your state. So just as a warning for that. All right, everybody. We are going to wrap it up. It was a really good workshop, and I'm so happy that we had so much participation. Again, you will get an email from me later that will have a link to the video so you can rewatch the video. We are not supplying slides for this. So, and then I will have a link for the website where you can request a mentor for all of you. Al, any last thoughts?
Thank you, everybody, for attending. Make sure that you use SCORE as a resource because we're free, we're confidential. There's 10,000 of us around the country, so you ought to be able to find somebody that can help. And good luck to everybody. Love to see every one of you in business because small business is really the engine of growth in the American economy.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day.
All right, everybody.
Thanks, Laura, for all your help. Did
No
great.
problem. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.